Good morning, afternoon, or evening. How y'all doing today? Welcome back to Mr. Morrill's Algebra 2 class. Today we're going to talk about slope-intercept form of a line. I'm going to show you guys how to graph a linear equation without ever having to make a table ever again, ever. Okay, which is kind of cool. Just as a little quick refresher, please remember that a linear equation or function is an equation where x has a power of 1. If the x has a different power other than 1, then it is not linear. A linear equation or function produces a straight line. If you're graphing a linear equation, guys, and you don't get a straight line, you made an error. It's that simple. It's no big deal, but it's not that the planets are misaligned or that someone has it, math has it out to get you. No, you just did it wrong, and it's okay. Fix it. Methods for graphing. Okay, the first method, of course, we've talked about. We're just going to review it real quick. You plug in and you make a table, okay? You make a table, and you use the moral 5, which is -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. The only time that you would not use the moral 5 is if your coefficient of x, the slope, let's say, had a fraction. Okay, if there's a denominator, then what you would do is you would use multiples of the denominator. So if it was 2/3 x, you would use -3, let's say -6, 0, 3, and 6. So that way you eliminate the denominators, okay? That's the only time you don't use a moral 5. But in our particular case here, we don't have a fraction as a slope, so I can use the moral 5. I plug it in. 2 times -2 is -4, minus 5 is -9. When x is -1, -2 minus 5 is -7. When x is 0, y is -5. When x is 1, 2 minus 5 is -3. And when x is 2, 4 minus 5 is -1. And then you literally graph each one of those points. So -2, -9 is right down here. Well, that's messy. I don't like that. Oh, give me 1 second here, guys. Oh, okay, sorry about that. All right, guys, so -2, -9 is right here. Then I've got -1, -7, which is right here. Then I've got 0, -5, which is right here. And I've got 1, -3 right here. And 2, -1, which is right here. And you have your straight line. And there it is. Nice and simple. That's table method. That's the method that most people do not like, and I get it. I don't like it either. You can make mistakes in your calculations. It's time consuming, but it does work in a pinch, worst case scenario. Now, what we're learning today is the slope intercept method. Bless you. You're very welcome. When you have a linear function written in slope intercept method, which is y equals mx plus b, all of these letters represent something, guys. The y is the dependent variable. It depends on x. Remember that for word problems, guys. Y is the dependent variable. Remember, we also learned already that f of x is simply a fancy way to write y. So f of x and y is the same thing. That's a dependent variable. M is my slope. We've talked about slope. Slope is the rise over run if it's positive, or the fall over run if it's negative. In order to calculate slope, there's a formula, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. That's my slope. Okay, so slope, done. My x is my independent variable. It's independent because it depends on nobody. Things like time, okay, is independent. Time is independent. It keeps going regardless of how we are doing. Another independent would be sometimes the number of items you purchase. Okay, that's independent. I could go to a store and not like a shirt and buy 0 that day. I could go to a store and like 3 shirts, so I buy 3 shirts that day. It really depends on nothing. It's independent. And then last but not least is the B, which is called the y-intercept. It is the y value on the y-axis when x equals 0. If you know this formula, you know how to understand it. It's so easy to graph. All you got to do here, my friends, is first of all, you always have to solve for y. That's one skill you must have. You have to solve for y. In other words, you want to get the y all alone in the form of y equals mx plus b. Then you want to identify and graph the y-intercept. That's your b value. Then from the y-intercept, you want to follow the slope 3 to 5 points, going both forwards and backwards. And now I'm going to show you how this works, because it's really simple. For example, I've got y equals 3x plus 1, okay? I don't have to solve for y in this case because the y has already been solved for. So my second step is to graph the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept here? 1. So I'm literally going to go to my y-axis and literally graph y equals 1. Now, from my y-intercept, gentlemen, from my y-intercept, I'm going to follow my slope both forwards and backwards. What is my slope here, gentlemen? 3 over 1 is really the technical term here, because there's an invisible 1 down there. So I'm going to literally go up 1, 2, 3, run 1 to the right. Up 1, 2, 3, run 1 to the right. You always run to the right. We talked about that when we talked about slope, unless going backwards. So if I'm going backwards, then I go down 1, 2, 3, 1 to the left. Down 1, 2, 3, 1 to the left. Please remember that you always run to the right. It has nothing to do with being positive or negative. You always run to the right unless you're going backwards. Does that make sense so far, brothers? And look what I have here in red. Run to the right unless going backwards. Always remember that. Now, for number 2, gentlemen, we're going to have to actually solve this equation for y. Okay? We're going to have to actually solve this equation for y. So how do I solve this bad boy for y here? Yes, sir. You're right. We got to put it into y-intercept form, but how? What are the steps? How do I do it, sir? Good job, my man. You subtract 5x to both sides, first off. Very good. So that gives me negative y equals negative 5x minus 3. And then how do I solve for y? Divide by negative 1. Very good, my brothers. So I've got y equals 5x plus 3. Now I have solved for y. I'm done with that first part. That's it. Now the easy part comes. What is my y-intercept here, gentlemen? 3. So I go 1, 2, 3. And what is my slope, gentlemen? 5 over 1. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 to the right. I don't have any more space, so I'm going to go backwards. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 to the left. And I need at least 3 to 5 points, which I have already achieved here, and that is my graph. Now, some things to keep in mind. If you notice, both of these slopes were positive, and if you notice, the lines represented the lines of positive slope because they went up from left to right. Be careful with that. Sometimes you'll do a silly calculation. You'll graph the line going negative, and you realize it's a positive slope. No, guys, it wasn't a coincidence. You made an error, no big deal. Fix it, okay? So always be cognizant of that, please. Okay, graph each linear function here as well. Okay, in this particular case, though, guys, we've got a little situation where it's a decimal. Very good, son. So whenever you have a decimal as a slope, gentlemen, you must turn it into a fraction, okay? Slopes, as we already talked about, can never be written as decimals or as mixed numbers. when we're dealing with actually graphing them. There's nothing wrong with this equation, but in order for me to graph it, I need that decimal place as a fraction. So this is y equals negative 1/5 x plus 3. For those of you who say, whoa, how did you get from 0.2 to 1/5? Please remember that 0.2, if you read it properly, is 2/10. Then when I simplify it, it would become 1/5. And it's negative because it's negative. So my y-intercept here would be what? 3. So I go to 1, 2, and a 3. Blammo. What's my slope, though? So I go down 1, 5 to the left, right? Wrong. I got a bunch of you who just said, yeah, I already told you this, my brothers. You always run to the right. Always run to the right. Doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. Always run to the right unless you're going backwards. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. Down 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. Now I got to go 1 to the left as well. So I got to go backwards. So I go backwards by going up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. Connect the dots. And that's it, my brothers. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Okay. Number 2, what's my y-intercept here, gentlemen? Negative 2. So I'm going to put my y-intercept on negative 2. What is my slope here, gentlemen? Okay, so I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 5 to the left, right?
No, to the right.
Good. It's to the right. So 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. Let's go backwards. Down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. Connect the dots. And bingo, you're done. Yes, sir, my brother. If they give you the function already, and they give you they give you the equation in y equals mx plus b, that's it, you're done. Of course. Thank you, sir, for caring. May I continue, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, graph each function. Okay. Now we got a little bit, something a little different here. What did I tell you y equals 4 looks like, guys? It's a zero slope, but what does that line look like? Horizontal, going through the 1, 2, 3, y equals 4 is right here. You know you're accurate because it's a zero slope. Horizontal lines have zero slopes. And you could test it with formulas. There is no rise here or fall. It's just a run. So when it's a zero rise over a run, 0 over anything is 0. That's a zero slope, horizontal line. What about this bad boy here? X equals negative 5. What would that be? That's a vertical line. And it does have an undefined slope. So negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Straight down, vertical, bam. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Does that make sense, gentlemen?
Yes.
Any questions before we move on, my brothers? Okie dokie smoky. Okay, so let's graph each one of these bad boys. What is the y-intercept here for number 1, gentlemen? 5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my y-intercept. And I'm going to follow my slope, negative 2/3. So what does that mean I'm going to do? I'm going to go down 2, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3 to the right. Down 1, 2 over 1, 2, 3 to the right. Now let's go backwards, up 1, 2 over 1, 2, 3 to the left. Connect the dots, and you got your line, gentlemen. Now number 2. I've got this in standard form, and we learned that if it's in standard form, I can find the x and y intercepts. But would the x and y intercepts work in this particular situation? Why? Why? Thank you, because 5 is not a factor of 12. In order for you to graph a linear equation using the slope intercept, the x and y intercepts, both a and b have to be factors of c. And in this case, 5 is not a factor of negative 12, so this won't work. So you're going to have to go a long way, guys, and solve for y. So how would I start solving for y here? What do? Subtract 5x, very good. So I've got 3y equals negative 5x minus 12. And then divide by 3, very good. Remember that gets divided to everything. So y equals negative 5/3 x minus 4. So what's my y-intercept here, boys? Negative 4. So I go 1, 2, 3, negative 4. What is my slope, gentlemen? So negative 5/3. So what does that mean? What do? No, I don't rise at all. I fall down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I run 1, 2, 3 to the right. You always run to the right unless going backwards. So now I am going backwards, so I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I go 1, 2, 3 to the left. Now I have my line. Does everyone understand what we did here today, my brothers? Pretty simple, right? Okay, let's see. Do I have one more? Yeah, I got one more. Okay. You ready? Questions? Okie dokie. Let's do it. All right, now I want you to write the equation represented by the given graph. This is very simple if you know that we're looking for y equals mx plus b. That's the goal here. We're going to have to figure out the missing pieces of this y equals mx plus b. We're going to have to figure out the b, the y-intercept, and the slope. So first of all, the y-intercept should be very simple to capture here. What's the y-intercept here? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So guess what, guys? B is already 3. Done. That's my y-intercept. Now, to get my slope, thank you very, very much. No, he remembers this from the last lesson. I'm proud of you. He's looking for another perfect point. So another perfect point would be right here. Remember, perfect point is right in the middle of the crosshair, guys. Right in the middle of the crosshairs. Okay, let me show you something here. Just to make sure you guys understand this. If you're looking here, okay, see how it's right in the middle? It's right in the middle of the crosshairs. Just like in the video games you guys play, when you're like a sniper or something like that, right? You're trying to put the head right in between the crosshairs, correct? It's just a video game, right? Okay, well that's what we're looking for here, guys. Okay? So please be cognizant of that. So now, how does my slope go from this y-intercept to my next point? Well, remember we're always doing a rise over run or a fall over run. In this case, it's a rise. I'm going up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So just as stated before, my m is 3/4. And now guess what? This equation is y equals m x plus b. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Yes, sir, my brother. Thank you. It can be positive or negative, my man. Let me just do this next one. I'll do another one where it's negative, my man. But remember, it would be negative, my friend, if it was going down from left to right, right? But we'll do an example since you asked. Thank you. Okay, guys. Here, this is just plain memorization. What's the slope of a vertical line? Undefined. What kind of an equation is it undefined? It's an x equals. So it's an x equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 6. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I'm a man of my word. So, well, we got, oh, look, we got it right here. We got everything you need here. So what's the slope of a horizontal line here, gentlemen? Okay, what kind of an equation gives you a zero slope? So this will be y equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Y equals negative 5 here. Very good. Now to answer your question, my friend, how do you know if it's negative or when is it negative? Well, in this particular case, I know that I'm going down from left to right. So when I go down from left to right, I know it's a negative slope. But I always want to find my y-intercept first. So what's my y-intercept? What is my b here? Okay, whoever said negative 3, no. Negative 3 would be the x-intercept. I'm looking for the y-intercept, so what would the y-intercept be? Negative 9, which is down here. Okay, so B, my y-intercept is negative 9. Very good job. Now I need a perfect point. Okay, I see a perfect point right here. Another perfect point here. Another perfect point here. So I want to know, how do I get from one perfect point to another perfect point going left to right? So I went down 1, 2, 3. Very good. Over 1. So it's negative 3 over 1. So my m is negative 3. So my equation for this linear function in slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, which is negative 9. And bingo, bango, bongo. You're done. Sir, my brother. Come again, my brother? You do not have to put the invisible one here. If you wanted to, there was nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You will not get it marked off in my world. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns, problems, issues, dilemmas? We're all good? Awesome. Thank you very much, guys, for a great lesson. Hope you learned a lot and have a wonderful day.